Hey guys, welcome to today's reading. This one has been requested for a really long time, and I was a little afraid to do it because it's such a vague topic. But I was thinking if you guys really want to see it that bad, that I will give it my best shot. So we are going to do a yes or no reading, keeping it very open-ended. So you can just think of whatever question you have in your mind, whatever question you want the answer to, and then see which of these paintings is sticking out to you, calling your name, drawing your attention in towards it, and then the painting you choose will have your answer yes or no, and just scroll down to the timestamps and the comments and the description to jump into the right pile for you. By the way, if you like how I read tarot and you want to see more of it, then be sure to head on over to my Patreon and watch all my additional readings. There are over 80 additional readings, exclusive readings only on Patreon. You also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. I just posted a reading all about your soulmate, twin flame, special person, when they're coming in, what the timeline is, what they're going to be like, what they're up to now. We get into a ton of detail over there. But like I said, you get early access to YouTube. You guys also vote and suggest on new topics over there. So there's a ton of content to go through. If that sounds good and you're interested in joining me, then head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you're interested in booking a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. You can sign up for a tarot session, astrology reading, channeling session with me. You can do a combination. You get to choose whether you want the reading pre-recorded or live. There's lots of ways to customize your reading so it's the right reading for you. If you're interested, head to the link in my description for briarrosetarot.com. So that's about all I have to say, guys. Now, if you need more time to decide, you can totally feel free to rewind, pause, and take as much time as you need, but we're going to go ahead and jump into pile one. Hey pile one, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your cards. You guys got the Queen of Swords, the Tower, the Death card, and the Eight of Swords reversed. So right off the bat, I'm going to say this is a no. I don't even need to really delve too deep into it. So cutting to the chase, there's some no energy happening, and we'll delve into more what I'm getting. I feel like there's also a call for you to really use your logic. So if your logical mind is telling you, no, I don't think this is a good idea, then maybe this is that time to listen to it. Sometimes, of course, I would say most of the time, it's more important to use your intuition, to listen to what that inner voice is telling you. But sometimes, like, you just got to look at the brass tacks of a situation and just got to look at like the numbers and the facts and the data. And I feel like that's kind of what you are being called to do with this Queen of Swords coming out upright. It's almost telling you that maybe you already know this situation is wrong, or maybe you already know that it's a no, but you are kind of hoping to convince yourself, or maybe it's going to be okay. And I'm almost feeling there's a message about just being very like logical and smart and really looking at things clearly and being very blunt with yourself. There's also a message for some of you guys that it's almost like some of the past has been, or some of your past actions may have been caused by trauma, or maybe a reason why you're even overthinking this situation or drawn to it or whatever. There may be an energy of like trauma or bad habits, or kind of like being stuck in the past and doing things in an old way. You know what I mean? Yeah, kind of like I'm seeing a vibe of like someone who's like, well, I always take this shortcut, so I'm just going to do it this way, even though I know it's not the best. Like, have you ever done that where maybe you have a route to go to work or something, and maybe you know that technically there's probably a shortcut, but you're so used to taking this route, and it's kind of like, oh, this is the easy way, or I just am so familiar with this, and you know, you almost make excuses, even though it would take like 30 seconds for you to look up the new route and learn that. You're kind of stuck in this rut of like action of just like, oh, this is familiar, and this is like a groove in my brain that I'm just used to, so I'm just going to keep doing it. And I almost feel like there's a vibe with that with you, where there's a certain aspect of this situation that you're in that almost has to do with like past actions or past like history of you or trauma or things you maybe should be working on unlearning or stepping out of, not necessarily something you should be embracing. And with the Tower card coming in as well, that can indicate that if you do follow on this path, I don't want to do like doom and gloom, everything's going to be horrible and, you know, nothing's going to work out. Of course, that's not the case. And we always have multiple options and, you know, multiple possibilities, and everything is always working out for our greatest and highest good. I truly do believe that, but the Tower card isn't necessarily something that's a lot of fun to experience. So this could be a difficult path. If you continue to follow it, there could be some pain, there could be some hardship, and it can just be your message that maybe going on the no path and extricating yourself from the situation and not accepting it could actually be a more fruitful outcome for you and might result in the kind of outcome you would maybe prefer over what will happen if you take the yes vibe. Yeah, I also feel like for you with the Eight of Swords reversed, there may be a lot of confusion. And what I'm getting for you with that is some of it is almost like willful confusion. You know how sometimes like you know something deep down inside, like you know in your pit of your stomach about a situation, and maybe you know it's not good for you, or maybe you know someone isn't treating you right, or that you should get out of this situation, or whatever. And there's a part of you though that kind of doesn't want to admit it because it would be like hard, you know, or maybe you know like, oh, I really have to move apartments, but you keep telling yourself, oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and it's not that big of a deal that there's noise every night, and it's okay that like the faucet keeps breaking and then flooding my kitchen and now there's mold underneath the tiles, and it's okay. And you keep kind of like justifying it, and it's almost like you're confusing yourself and you're telling yourself something that deep down inside you know isn't true. And if you were just like listening to your first instinct, or even I'm getting a message that Spirit is saying if someone else was telling you about this situation, if someone was like sitting you down and explaining to them, like isn't that sometimes the worst when we're doing something dysfunctional and then you like sit down with a friend and you tell them about it and they're like, what? And they're just like flabbergasted, and it's like that's like the worst feeling is when you realize like, oh, I've been so dumb. Hearing it through someone else's eyes, kind of like listening to yourself as you talk and realizing how you sound can be so humbling. But we all have that tendency to do that, to put on those rose-colored glasses. And again, with the Queen of Swords, it's almost that reminder to take off those Neptunian, intuitive, rose-colored glasses that kind of see the best in things and look at it really bluntly and really objectively, and not being afraid to see the truth for what it is. When you think about a sword, it really cuts to the heart of the matter. It doesn't sit down and waste time and try to make nice with everyone. It just gets to the quick of it. And I feel like that's what you need to do, is like almost you know what's going on with the situation, and this is about being honest with yourself. This is about admitting to yourself something you already know, and you've already thought it through. You've already had these thoughts. They've already kind of been at the back of your mind. So it's time to be 100% honest and admit whatever you're thinking. Let me get some of these cards for you. Pile number 1. We want to know yes or no for pile number 1. Yes or no for pile 1. So this says animal totems, animal energy and powers. What I'm getting from the animal totems is it's almost like, you know, they say like before a natural disaster, like a big storm or a tsunami or a hurricane or a tornado, anything like that, all the animals will leave, and you'll always be able to tell that like something is about to happen because it'll go dead silent, and then the hurricane will happen, or then the tornado will sweep in, or the tsunami will happen, and all the animals will like flee. Like before the tsunami, I think all the birds flew away and it was like oddly quiet. And you know, there's so much wisdom from the way animals use their intuition. Another thing animals do is like, you know, speaking of birds, and this is why a lot of birds get used for spirit communication. And a lot of people will say, oh, I saw a bird and it reminded me of my grandmother. They really have a connection to the other side and other senses, like their electromagnetic senses that spirit loves to use to send messages. But so birds fly south for the summer or for the winter, excuse me, and fly north for the summer. So they fly to the warmth for the winter and then the cold for the summer. And when you really think about it, it's pretty crazy, right? I mean, they're flying thousands of miles and all on their own. They're birds. They're not like high IQ, it's not like they know the route or they have a map or they have Google Maps or anything like that. They're just navigating on instinct. And there's so much power in that and in the way animals listen to their intuition, listen to their first instinct. You wouldn't see an animal, like sense that there's a tsunami coming in and be like, oh, but I don't know. I spent a really long time building this nest and it really took a long time to gather up all these little twigs and shape it into a nest. So I'm not going to go anywhere. And maybe, but also if I leave, like, I won't be able to find my friends again. And I don't know. You won't see, a deer who's in a field and it's right before a storm start like overthinking about, I don't know, maybe I should stay. I really like this field. Like animals just go off their first instinct. They just listen to what their senses are telling them. And they listen to that sense of danger. And sometimes they're a lot more smart about that than we as humans because our logical brain turns on and we kind of overthink and start, hemming and hawing, coming up with scenarios, coming up with justifications, thinking of a million reasons why. And sometimes the simplest answer is just the answer. Sometimes it's just about being like, no, I already know what's going on. And that's why sometimes, again, it can be humbling when you tell a situation to your friends. Like if you're telling them about some toxic guy you're dating and in your mind, you're like, yeah, but like, I love him and he's really cute. And like when we were laying together next to each other, he was telling me blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, his family wasn't nice to him. And your friend is just like, okay, but he did that. So he's toxic. Dump him. And they don't have the same emotional connection that can kind of blind us and make us not able to see a situation clearly. And sometimes it's just about being harsh with yourself and saying like, yeah, that's the situation. It's not even more complicated than that. There's nothing glamorous or deep or worth like, going on and writing poetry about it. It's just like, yeah, that's the situation. It sucks. That's why I love to just say, yeah, I think the energy's janky, because I think sometimes we try and we're searching and we're scrambling for like reasons and why and what's the point. And sometimes all you need to know is like, yeah, the energy's janky and it's not ready. So that's it. There's no, there's no need to even dive deeper. Like sometimes if you're doing a love reading and someone doesn't want a relationship with someone, it's almost like beside the point to go into exactly why. And is it because of trauma or do they like their past ex-girlfriend? I mean, I don't mind doing that, especially in my private readings. It's interesting to me, but I always think the point is basically then just dump him. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not that much worth freaking out or trying to get all the details, because that's almost like secondary to the purpose, which is like whether he's not ready for a relationship because he's immature, because he doesn't have his life in order, because he's hung up on an ex, because he doesn't like you that much, because he is selfish. It really doesn't matter. The point is he's not ready, whether it's for a good reason, a bad reason. That's all you need to know. And I think, the same can be said for all areas of life. We don't need to figure out like, but why doesn't my boss like me? And why haven't they given me a promotion? And I just maybe by word. It's like, well, if the boss doesn't recognize you, the boss doesn't recognize you. So just maybe send your resume out to someone else. You know what I mean? Sometimes you've just got to call a spade and just kind of like move on from it and accept the situation as what it is. Stop trying to change it or justify it or make it work, but just be willing to admit what's going on. And then that's actually so freeing, because yeah, sometimes it's that like trying to figure out the puzzle piece that keeps us coming back for more. For you guys in this situation, there could be a karmic lesson at play. And it's not to say, the thing is with karmic lessons is they have their way of working themselves out and playing themselves out. And sometimes I think that's why, you can tell someone to leave someone, or you can tell someone you need to move on. But if they haven't really gotten sick of that person, if they haven't fully seen that situation play out to the end, they might not be ready. And that's sometimes what you have to do in your own life too, is maybe you're like, I know this situation isn't the best for me, but I know I've got to see it out till the end. And if that's a karmic, often that's like past life, soul, karma, whatever, that's especially when you feel deeply like impelled, like you're just like, I don't know, I need to figure this out, I need to stay in this situation, then there may be a soul lesson that you signed up for, and you know that, and that's why even if the situation isn't that great, you're like, I can't leave this right now. And there may be a karmic aspect to this for some of you guys. There may be something very karmic at play, and something that you are needing to learn and kind of like fully live out, I guess, or fully let it grow to fruition. But I feel like for you guys, a lot of this is about learning your own power. There's a message for you about realizing your own power and realizing that you have free will. And that's something that I've also picked up on so much in private readings and my tarot work, is like, I think sometimes we overestimate free will. We think of things as so fated, like, oh, I met this guy and I can't stop thinking about him, and I'm just like, you know, he's my ex from 3 years ago, but we have a soul tie. And that very well may be true, because soul ties are real, and you may be soul tied to him. But are you choosing to let yourself ruminate about him? Are you choosing to listen to like a sad song by like the 1975 and think about him? Are you choosing to sit and wallow, and instead of going on the dating apps and genuinely trying to be open to a new relationship, are you comparing every man to him and writing poetry about him and dreaming about him and allowing yourself to stew in that? Because that's free will. And free will is also in the other direction. I still have feelings for this, but I know this situation isn't right for me. So I'm going to genuinely head in a new direction and seek out something new. And again, I feel like one thing you realize when you do these readings and talk to people on the other side is how much free will does play a role, and how much you get to have a say in your future and in your destiny. And it's not this thing. Oftentimes I think we as humans, we think, oh my gosh, I'm stuck in this situation, and you might actually have a lot more autonomy than you realize. And even in a karmic situation, you may have signed up for that lesson in a past lifetime, but you can also choose to extricate yourself from it and be like, well, maybe this is a karmic situation, but I don't have to continue to deal with it. You know what I mean? I don't have to stay with this person. Maybe I knew them in a past life. Maybe we played out a million lifetimes together, but this can be the final lifetime. And I can say, I'm done with this person, and choose to move on from them. So yeah, let me get one more card for you. Pile number 1. Conscious steps, considered action, looking forward. Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying, is like, sometimes it's just about being conscious about our actions, conscious about our thoughts. Like I was saying before about that example of the person that has an ex-boyfriend, but they continuously think of them. Sometimes it's something unconscious. A love song comes on the radio and they think about like, oh my gosh, James, he was so amazing. And they just like ruminate about James. And they're probably not even consciously aware that they're doing that. It's such a habit that whenever they hear a sad love song, they think about their ex-boyfriend. But they could be conscious of their thoughts, become conscious of their thoughts, and stop that when it starts. So when they start thinking, oh, remember when James came in and when I first met him, and it can be, you know, oh, I'm not going to do that. Let me change my thought process. Let me think of something else. Let me cut that off. Let me change the song if I have to, change the station, whatever I have to do to be the one who's in control of my thoughts. Maybe I can think of something positive that's going to happen. Maybe I can think about something new that's happening in my life, but I have the reins. And I feel like for you guys, whatever the situation is, it's almost like a message that, maybe there is that vibe that something's out of your control, or it's just kind of happening to you. And then I think it's really important, like I said, to take those reins back and to make sure that you're kind of the driving force of your life and that it's heading in the direction you want. Let's get some of these tarot cards for you. Pile number 1. What message do we have about yes or no for pile number 1? So we got the 6 of Wands, the 3 of Cups. Oh, we got a few. The King of Cups, the Death card reversed. Okay, we've gotten that twice. That's really interesting. 10 of Pentacles reversed, Ace of Pentacles, and the 10 of Cups. So I feel like the message is morphing a little bit because now we have some more positive cards coming out. So there could be a message that this isn't a full, like, definite no. I'm still going to err on the side of no, but it could be that this situation just needs to be altered or changed. Like maybe it's fixable, but you're going to have to be really clear about the energy and really clear about either boundaries or, I think sometimes like a relationship, for example, is fixable if we are willing to have those difficult discussions, if we're willing to sit down with our friend, parent, partner, lover, whatever the situation is, and tell them, listen, it's really bothered me that blah, blah, blah has happened, or I really need you to work on that. And sometimes it's still not salvageable, or the person is like, oh, well, I'm not willing to put any work in. I don't care that much. And then that's valuable to know anyway. Then you can walk away from it. But, sometimes it's like, okay, maybe this situation, there is a path to it being fixed, but we're going to have to put some work in. We're going to have to shape this. We're going to have to adjust it instead of accepting it just as it is. I'm the queen, and I know some people are going to say I'm like a Karen for doing this. I don't really care. I also think the Karen thing was like way overblown, and I have a conspiracy theory that that's why the servings are horrible at Chipotle and all the corporations are screwing us over now. It was always the Karens like keeping everything in line and keeping these companies from like completely screwing us over, and now they have free reign to do that. But I am the person that, like, if there's a table I want, I'll ask for it. Or if I'm at a restaurant and there's something on the menu that, like, there's, like I really like the look of like a certain meal, but there's something that I really don't like, I'm going to ask, like, oh, and is there any way you could not put that in, or put it on the side, or add in something? If I'm not going to completely remake the dish, but I might be like, oh, could you add avocado on the side? And of course I would pay extra for that, or whatever it is. But I mean, I'm going to ask. I'm that person who I will ask. I will definitely say, oh, and by the way, could we have the booth? Or, oh, and by the way, is there any way you could set us in the quieter section of the restaurant away from the speakers if they put us in the seat next to the speakers? You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind asking. And some people really hate doing that, or really hate people who do that, but whatever. But I think it's amazing because a lot of times, yeah, someone will be afraid to ask, or they'll say, oh, they gave me the wrong food, but I'm just going to eat it anyway. I'm so embarrassed. And it's like, it's really amazing sometimes realizing your own personal authority, that not that you're going to start screaming in the waitress's face if she says, no, it's not possible. Sorry, the restaurant's full. But a lot of times it's like, yeah, sure, you can sit over there. You don't have to sit by the speakers. No big deal. And they don't care. You know what I mean? Or yeah, sure, we can take out the eggs and swap in chicken if that's what you want, And a lot of times the people who are like terrified to ask are really kind of selling themselves short of what probably wouldn't be a big deal at all. And I feel like for you guys, there's that message of like not being afraid to speak up, or not being afraid to advocate for yourself, and not being afraid to, sometimes it's just even like knowing what you want. Like, I know for me, I know what I want in a restaurant. I really hate when the music is like super loud. I always want to like have the good conversation. And I also just know what restaurants I don't like. Like, I'm super picky about restaurants in general. And with my friends, I will definitely veto a lot of restaurants if they're not the vibe for me, because I am a second house Venus and it has to be a little Taurus, comfortable, beautiful vibe. Otherwise, I'm not into it. But I think half of it is also even knowing what you want, sitting down and maybe making a list, or writing out, or having in your head your priorities, so that you can effectively communicate that to the other person, whatever the situation is. If it's with a boss, knowing what is annoying me about this situation, what is making me feel undervalued. Could I talk to my boss and mention that I do need a pay raise? Could I talk to them and mention that I need more vacation time if that's what's bothering me? If I'm feeling burnt out, talking to them and mentioning that I'm just going to be leaving at 5 p.m. on the dot and I can't keep staying late and working until 9. Or if it's like a relationship, talking to someone in a relationship about certain boundaries. And, at the end of the day, everyone has free will. That person could still say no. They could still disrespect you, but then that's your information as well. But I feel like for you, this is about really like a situation where sometimes you've almost sold yourself short, or you've accepted bad treatment or accepted kind of like less than you deserve. And this is really about finding your authority and really learning your own power to say no and to advocate for yourself. Let's get some message cards for you, pile number 1. What message cards do we have for yes or no for pile 1? This one says, surrender to the sweetness. Venus energy, pleasure, joy, make love to life. Funny, I was just mentioning my Venus placement in the 2nd house. And then we got Venus energy. The seas of Mintaka, seeing potential, bringing unconsciousness to light. And I think that's half the battle, is sometimes like being honest with ourselves about our own unconscious, our own limiting beliefs, and how that makes us sometimes accept less in certain situations. Sometimes we think, well, I could never find a partner who does blah, blah, blah. So we accept less from a certain partner, or I'm not that good at my job anyway. So we tolerate a toxic boss. Sometimes it's about finding our own self-worth and knowing that we have every right to ask for the things we want. And we have every right to set out a kind of roadmap for ourselves of what we want to achieve in life, what we want to experience. And I feel like for you guys, this is about almost like raising your expectations or raising your own self-image and knowing that you deserve a lot. You deserve so much, pile 1. So don't be settling for less. Let's get one more final message card. Okay, you guys get 2 final message cards. The 7-star sisters. Birthing creations, tapestry of life, expression. And this one says, oh, you guys got 5 or 2 more. Loosen your grip, coping mechanisms, density, addiction, let God in. And finally, I'm sorry, defenselessness, writing past wrongs, uprooting. I almost feel like for you, you guys say I'm sorry a lot, and you kind of take this apologetic position, or you don't fully advocate for yourself. You don't fully allow yourself to be this powerhouse that you are. You sometimes gaslight yourself or second guess yourself, or kind of, like I said, it reminds me of those people that maybe they're sitting there staring at like a dish that they didn't order. The waitress got them the wrong drink, got them the wrong food, but they're eating it because they're too afraid to speak up to the waiter and say, yeah, like, sorry, I had ordered the steak. And so they just eat the whole thing, even though they don't like even one bite of it. They're eating it all, and they're going to smile afterwards and say, thank you so much. And honestly, I feel like for you guys, this is like really learning to step out of that and learning that the only person that can advocate for yourself is you. It's your life. You don't get one life, but for this, on this human timeline, each life is very important and we need to make the most of it. And I feel like for you, this is your message of like, making sure that you're living the kind of life that's going to make you happy, and you're taking an active role in choosing this, and you're not just accepting whatever comes to you and just kind of welcoming it in and being like, yeah, it's fine, yeah, okay. Really being clear about what you want with yourself to others, accepting that and stepping into that. Because for you guys, I really don't want to see you like tolerating less than, or kind of thinking that's what you deserve when you deserve so much more. So that is what I have for you. Pile number 1. I really hope that resonates. So overall, it's a no, but it could merge to a maybe if you're willing to do the hard work and kind of have those difficult discussions with whatever this situation is. So I hope that helps, guys. And if you want to see more of my content, then head on over to my Patreon. I have so many additional readings over there, over 80 additional readings. There's a reading I just posted all about your soulmate, special person, when they're coming in, what they're up to, what that's going to be like. But like I said, over 80 readings, so many different topics, and you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So if that sounds good, head to my Patreon. The link is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description. And if you would like to sign up for a private reading with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, and you can book a private one-on-one session, whether you want it to be channeling, astrology, tarot, a combination, and you get to really customize it so it's the perfect session for you. So if that sounds good, like I said, briarrosetarot.com, link is in my description for that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, pile two, welcome to your reading. So, you guys got the moon, the sun, the magician, and the Four of Pentacles. So, right off the bat, I am leaning towards a yes. And that's because we have a lot of positive cards, but there is a little bit of a disclaimer, I guess, or a nuance in this where I feel like you're also being reminded of how your energy will continue to play a role in this. So it's not necessarily just going to be smooth sailing all the way 100% yes, and it happens without any effort on your part. I feel like there's a message that you have to play a role in making this outcome happen. The magician is one of the most it has a message of reminding yourself of your own power and your own autonomy. And it's a really positive card about how we really have the power and the potential to achieve anything, and how our own force of mind and spirit can really change outcomes and literally do magic, literal magic. But it's almost like we have to make sure our mind is in that right place, that our intentions are fixed in the right way, that our energy is going in the right direction, that we're not just sitting back and waiting for life to happen. The sun is also a very positive card, but it's extremely energetic. When you think about the sun, it is the source of life on this planet. Even the other luminary, the moon, only reflects back the light of the sun. And without the sun, if the sun randomly exploded or went away or whatever, like Earth would die in a day, because we rely on the sun for all of our energy. And that is the force of the sun. It is so powerful. And when we see the sun, it's a reminder of how valuable our energy is and how important it is when we truly direct our energy towards a goal or an endeavor. And this is why a lot of Leos that are ruled by the sun, sometimes they get a bad rap for like, oh, you're always trying so hard, or you want to be the center of attention. But a lot of Leos realize that if you're gonna do something, you need to do it all the way. There's no doing it halfway. There's no going up on stage and wanting to be in the school play, but then being really shy and scared and kind of hiding behind someone else and like mumbling your words. If you're going to be in that play, you need to do it full force. You need to be singing those words out or saying your lines and doing it boldly and being willing to be center stage and have that spotlight on you. And it's almost like that vibe that I feel like is coming through for you, of like needing to embrace it, needing to like lean into it, needing to go for it, instead of maybe waiting for it to happen, waiting for something to just randomly fall into place. Really, the sun is about realizing our own power and realizing our own intensity and realizing the potential we have to influence things, and how our biggest gift can be sharing with others. So although I do feel like this is a definite yes, I also feel like there's a message for you of like taking responsibility and making sure that your energy is also flowing in the right direction, making sure that you're not just sitting back and expecting someone else to do something for you, but realizing you have the potential to influence the outcome. You have the potential to change the situation. And as your mood changes with the moon card, for example, which rules over mood and emotions when it comes to astrology, as your emotions change, they have the potential to also alter this situation and to alter the outcome. So making sure that even though, it is a yes, and I feel like there's so much beautiful potential here, we're not allowing our energy to like get off course. Sometimes it's like we may wake up and we have this intention of like, I'm going to accomplish this today. Then someone's rude to us or something negative happens, and suddenly that goes out the window and we just want to crawl into bed. Or maybe we think, I really want this to happen, but I'm helpless to make it happen. Like I feel so down on myself. Like maybe I really want to talk to this old friend. I really miss her, but I don't know. I'm not going to send her that text. She'll think I'm weird if I reach out. So I'm just going to wait for her to text me. And again, this message is about realizing, no, you have the power. And if there's something you want to say, if there's something you want to do, if there's something you want to accomplish, only you can be the one to make that happen. It's not to say we can't get influenced by other people, but tapping into your own power is so empowering and so liberating. It's liberating to realize we don't have to sit around and wait for someone else to decide to do it. We can do it ourselves. And so although although I feel like this is definitely a super solid foundation, we have the Four of Pentacles, which is a card of that solid foundation. It's like that reminder that you need to make sure your energy is focused. You're not just dilly-dallying or dreaming of something like, oh, I want to be an actress, but I've never acted in anything. I never apply for any jobs. I never audition. I never took an acting class. Like, you know what I mean? Or I really want to be a writer, but I haven't written anything in years, and I really never read, and I don't ever do anything to work towards being that published author. And it's almost like, how can you take those steps and make it an actual reality in the physical world? Not just an idea, not just a dream, but an actual reality. The Moon card also talks about that. It's ruled by Pisces in the tarot, and obviously it also connects with Cancer, because Cancer rules, or the moon rules Cancer in astrology. But it is ruled by Pisces, and Pisces is definitely the dreamer of the zodiac and always has a million incredible ideas. And when they actually put that into power, they can sometimes accomplish the most amazing things. Like, there's a ton of Pisces billionaires, and Steve Jobs was a Pisces, and they can be visionaries. But there's a lot of Pisces that may not accomplish anything, and they're just sitting around dreaming and thinking about it on the astral plane, and wow, that would be so cool. And they don't take the steps to actually make that happen. And that's why Pisces can also be a sign of delusion. And this is why it's important to take that idea, that dream, that concept, that want, and actually make it into something that can truly happen in reality. Not just something that's happening in our mind or our head or our heart, but something that's happening in the real world. Let's get into some more cards for you. Pile number 2. So we want to know yes or no for pile number 2. So we got achievement, completion, reward. Yay. Let's see what else. Connections, partnership, contact, commitment. And let's get one more card. Yes or no for pile number 2. Yes or no for pile number 2. Emotional desert, inactivity, isolation. So again, that message of like inactivity, not taking action, not stepping forward into something. You know, what's the point? Like, I'm seeing this metaphor with this desert. Obviously, most of the desert is completely brown and doesn't have a lot of life in it. It's just sand, but you can see this beautiful oasis with lots of green. And it's almost like that message that, and I know this would be pretty hard to do because there's not a lot of water in the desert, but if you wanted to grow a garden in the desert, you can't just expect it to suddenly pop up, right? It's not just going to suddenly start growing over here. You're going to have to water it. You're going to have to find a way to make that happen, or maybe to leave the desert entirely and go to some place that will support growing those, like petunias or whatever flower you were hoping of growing. You're going to need to actually take the steps to make that happen. You can't just be like, why isn't the petunia growing here in the desert, if you never planted that seed, if you never watered it, if you just know that the temperature is climbing up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, but you're not, you know, putting extra water in or trying to cool it down in that area. I don't even know how you can do that, but you know what I mean. It's like, we can't just expect something to just emerge that we want. We really have to be the one to make that happen and to actually take that action. And the desert is used in so many like spiritual texts as that metaphor for people being kind of stuck and stagnant. Like when Moses, I think, was lost in the desert for like 40 years, wandering around the desert. Yeah, a lot of times someone might, like, he had the potential, he could have entered, I think they were looking for the promised land, but I don't remember exactly. He could have entered that at any point, but because of his own confusion and because I don't remember exactly the reason why, so maybe that was a bad metaphor to bring up, but the point is he was stuck wandering around in that desert, you know? He just couldn't make it happen. And I feel like for you, there's that message that like, we don't have to stay there. You know, we can choose to move ourselves into a better situation. We don't have to stay stuck in a place of stagnancy and stasis and kind of like being in almost, what is it, purgatory. We can choose to move forward into the kind of life we want, into the kind of time frame we want. We can see this achievement card coming out, like there's so much potential here, and I feel like you guys have whatever it takes to make this happen. Like there's so much good stuff here. I'm almost seeing like gold buried in like the hills or whatever, how like there's certain areas that either have gold and then there's certain areas that don't. Like in California, there's places that have gold, but if you're digging for gold in like Maryland, you're probably not going to find it because it's just not there. Or there's lots of oil in Texas, but there's probably, I don't know for sure, but there's probably not a lot of oil, you know, in like Philadelphia. So if you're like looking for oil, you're probably better off looking for it in Texas. And you know, I feel like you guys have it. You have the gold, you have the oil, you have all the raw materials, and it's just a matter of like taking that action. And again, another metaphor with this is like this guy, you know, he may have innate athletic ability. He probably is strong. He looks like a guy who has a good build. He looks like a guy who would, you know, he's in good shape. He has some muscles on his legs. So he's not a weakling by any means. But if he just finished running a marathon or, you know, winning a race and he looks like he did win, so he looks pretty happy and there must have been a level of athletic achievement there, he probably wasn't on that level the first day. If he had been laying on the couch for, you know, a year before this race, he wouldn't have won. He might have the best build. He might have really broad shoulders and strong legs and, you know, some good innate muscular structure. But if he's just laying in bed all day, those muscles are going to atrophy. They're not going to be strong enough for him to win. He has to take some effort to train, to practice, to run every day so he builds up his stamina. And so sometimes someone might have the most gifts in the world. They might be so talented in a certain area, but because they're not taking the steps, they're not doing the work, they're not doing what they have to do, it's like not going to happen. And I, again, feel like this message for you is just about really taking the reins of your life and making sure that you are moving into whatever goal you're setting for yourself, whatever this is that you want or that you're asking about. Are you actually taking steps to do that? Are you actually making it a fertile place for you to grow this? Back to this metaphor of trying to grow a petunia in the desert, like that might not be the best idea too. You want to make sure that like whatever you're trying to do, although I feel like this is very, you have the raw materials, you want to make sure you're doing everything you can to nurture it. You want to make sure you're watering it. You want to make sure you're taking action on it. You're not just randomly hoping it's just going to grow on its own. Let's get some more cards. Let's get some tarot for pile number 2. Yes or no, Spirit. We want to know yes or no. So we got the Queen of Cups reversed, the Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Swords. Wow, that's crazy. 3 Queen cards in a row. The Fool, the Judgment card, and 3 of Wands, and the one that fell is the Strength card. So yeah, just back to that metaphor that I was giving of like this guy who has to train and bring his muscles back. Like, you know, we can be really gifted in an area. We can have a lot of those innate talents, but if we're not working on building that strength and that endurance, and also sometimes when we're going to accomplish something, like before you win that race, there's going to be a few months where you're training alone in the gym and you're on that treadmill every day and you're thinking like, oh my God, I'm freaking exhausted and why am I doing this? You know, there's going to be a lot of days when you're running around the lake at like 5:30 a.m. before work and you're thinking like, oh my God, everyone else is sleeping and it's already hot out and I'm sweating, but you got to kind of persevere if you want to be that guy winning that race one day. And I feel like for you, yeah, this is a definite yes. And it is that message that you have all the raw materials to make this happen. Whatever is in this situation is so ripe for achievement, for accomplishment, for doing whatever this is. Like if this is like a relationship that you're asking about, maybe this person really likes you and yes, they are interested for sure. Or if this is, can I do this on a job? Like, yes, you absolutely can. Or whatever the situation is, there is a definite positive yes message, but there's also that little just clarification from Spirit that it is going to take you actively steering this situation. And I think it's interesting that the 2 Queen cards that are upright are the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords. And those are both 2 of the most kind of logically minded and also very like hardworking, I think, energies of the queens. Not to say the Queen of Cups isn't, or the Queen of Wands isn't hardworking, but they're kind of more emotional, I would say. And the Queen of Pentacles is a little more responsible. The Queen of Swords is very rational and logical minded. So they're kind of very down to earth. And I associate them with like hard work, because the swords and the pentacles to me are both more about like hard work, I guess, than the wands and the cups, which are kind of a little more glamorous, I guess. Like the swords is a heavy suit dealing with a lot of hard times that you have to get through and difficult situations you have to overcome. And the pentacles also has, you know, that process of building and like doing the hard work and persevering. So they both have reached queen through that, and they're both going to take the reins. They're not just going to wait for it to happen to them like the Queen of Wands might, or the Queen of Cups might, especially the Queen of Cups. Queen of Wands might try to make it happen, but it's a little more chaotic. And I feel like for you, this is your message that like you are in control. You are the one who can influence it. You are the one who knows what you want. And some of this, again, is just about knowing what you want and figuring out what you want, like the Queen of Wands or the Three of Wands is talking about, planning out what we want, kind of surveying the land so we can start seeing, this is where I want to head. This is the direction I want to go. But there is a beautiful new opportunity here, and so much potential to reinvent yourself, potential to do things so differently. I feel like for you, it's almost like the sky is the limit with this situation, or the only limit is going to be set by you. You're going to be the one who's going to determine how far this can go or how amazing it can be. And if you decide to fully lean into it, then I feel like there is so much potential and so much awesomeness that can happen here. And it's just going to be a matter of you really persevering and being very clear and being very direct and making sure you know for yourself what you're doing, that you're working hard at it, that you are putting in the work. You know, it's like this situation, while it may have all the raw materials, it also needs your active guidance and active steps on your part. It's not just going to fall into your lap. If this is like a relationship, it might be a relationship that still needs to have those tough discussions and sitting down with the other person and talking to them and working through things, that kind of a thing. Let's get into some of these cards for you, pile number 2. So we got trust the timing, trust the wave you came in on. Time is not running out. Maybe someone needed to hear that. Maybe you think it's too late. Maybe you think that there's no way this could happen and, you know, I already blew it, or yeah, it's like time passed now and there's no chance. And I really do feel like the timing is always going to be right, and the timing's always going to be different for everyone. So for one person, the timing might be perfect for them to do it really early, and for someone else the timing might be way better if they do it in their 60s. You know, for someone it might be they need to do it in their teens or their 20s, and someone else it might be better to do it in their 40s or their 70s or whatever. There is no one set of time for everyone. There's always going to be a different timeline that works differently and better for different people. So yeah, I feel like for you, just know that if you have ever worried about, oh my God, I'm out of time, or this isn't going to work, or it's too late for me, that's definitely not the case. And again, I feel like Spirit just wants to remind you that you have so much talent here. Like you have so much ability, and you are so special, pile 2. So whatever this is, like you absolutely have whatever it takes that you need to achieve this. Let's get some more cards for pile 2. Messengers, serious energy, bringing harmony and balance. And let's get one more. Whale and Orca elders, share your song, frequency of sound, diving deep, and one more. The void, stop, embrace winter, great cosmic womb. So yeah, I feel like for you, this is a message about, again, also trusting the process, trusting and knowing that even if it may sometimes seem like there's a pause, maybe it sometimes seems like things aren't moving forward. If you can trust your own energy and you can have faith in your own energy, then there's no stopping that. And I feel like for you, Spirit does want you, this could be about sharing a gift somehow. We did get this card that is sharing your song, frequency of sound, diving deep. So I almost feel like that message is about being unafraid to be transparently honest and being transparently yourself. Sometimes I think we are afraid to step into something because we're so afraid what other people are going to think. So we don't send that risky text message and say, you know, I really still like you. Or we don't go out for that, you know, job because we're afraid of getting rejected. Or we don't go out, we don't share our paintings, even though we paint every single day and we love to do it and it's our favorite hobby, but we don't create that Instagram account and post it publicly because we're so afraid that our friends would see it and would mock us and would be like, that's so lame. But the reality is that the right people and the people that really get you are going to love that. The reality is that the person that's right for you is going to get that text message and be like, oh my God, I'm so glad they texted me because I love them too. And I was waiting for that text, you know? The person that's right for you is going to be so overjoyed that you shared your feelings and that you told them you cared about them. Like, you can't scare away the person that really loves you and cares about you back. You're not going to make them think you're crazy or what are they talking about? You know, if they feel that way too, that's exactly what they're going to be thinking is like, oh my God, I feel the exact same way. And if they're not right for you, then yeah, they may push you away. And that's good to know then. Like, then it's like, okay, fantastic. That's data at least. Now I told you how I felt and now you rejected me. So perfect. Now I can move on. But I feel like for you, this is a message that like, you can't lose. You know what I mean? No matter what's going to happen, you're not going to lose. You're only going to win. So if this situation even involves you getting rejected somehow, like you do send that risky text and the person responds and says, sorry, I'm not feeling the same way, then that's still a win because then you are not wasting your time and you can move on and you can date someone else who's gonna really love you. Or, you know, if you apply for that job and you get brutally rejected and they send you a message being like, why did you even apply? I had that happen to me once. Then at least you know and you can apply somewhere else and not even to take it personally, just considering it a part of your lore. Like, okay, perfect. So that happened and now I'll carry that story with me for the future. It'll be a funny story one day when I have my dream job and I can tell that to other people and laugh about it, you know? So yeah, I feel like for you, it's almost that message to not be afraid to be brutally honest about yourself and to be honest with others and to really show your deepest version of yourself because the right people are going to get it. They're going to cheer you on. They're going to support you. They're going to be so excited for you. And the wrong people, of course, aren't, but it's great to sort that out and remove those kinds of people from your life anyway. So a win is a win is a win. And yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of winning happening in this pile. There's a lot of positivity. And yeah, I think you guys are definitely on the right track. And whatever happens with this, like I said, there's so much potential for good and for winning and for positivity. And I definitely am erring on the side of yes. And there's that message to not expect it to just fall into your lap, but take active steps, realize your own power, make it happen, and take the reins. So that is the message I have for you. Pile number 2, I really hope that resonates. If you want to see more of my content, head on over to my Patreon. I just posted a reading all about your special person, your soulmate, the timing on that, when you're going to meet, what they're going to be like, when they're going to come in, how that's going to happen. But there are over 80 exclusive readings you'll only get access to when you sign up for Patreon. And you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So there's so much content to go through. If that sounds good to you and you're interested in signing up, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you're interested in booking a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. Whether you want a tarot reading, a channeling session, or a astrology session, you get to really choose and customize your reading so it's perfect for you. So if you're interested, like I said, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com. Link for that is in my description. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, pile 3, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your cards. You guys got the 5 of Pentacles, the High Priest, the 6 of Pentacles, and the Ace of Swords. So right now I'm getting a kind of hesitant no, but it's more like a maybe because it's not a full no. And I feel like there's different outcomes that the situation could have. So it's not a 100% no, but it's not the most positive, I guess. So let's get into it. I do feel like this situation would be difficult. It wouldn't necessarily be easy or free flowing. It may require a lot of work on your part or a lot of readjustment of the energy. So it may be a situation where you're continuously having to like really work or change something or adjust, or, you know, there's a few stop starts, there's a few false starts where you're trying it, it's not really working, you have to adjust, and it may not be the most pleasant process. At some point, you may get some help from someone else with that Six of Pentacles coming out. So there may be someone that wants to come in and help this situation in some way, or some kind of random adjustment of this situation where maybe out of the blue, something shifts, something changes, and there's some kind of assistance you get, or some kind of pivot that allows the situation to flow a little bit more freely. I also am getting a message from Spirit that you're going to have to be bold enough to ask for help or assistance with it. You're going to have to be the one to like reach out and say that you need something. And also with the Hierophant coming out, this could be about finding your authority. The Hierophant in this deck is the High Priest card, but it could be about stepping into your authority. The Hierophant is ruled by Taurus, and it is that card about stability and a firm foundation, and also about kind of tradition and traditional power structures, all of that. So I feel like for you, this could be about learning to go about things in almost like a more traditional way, or learning to go ask for help from certain people that may be authority figures in some way, or finding your own authority and learning to speak up and kind of I almost feel like it's about adjusting and going about things in a way that maybe in the past you might have dismissed or said like, oh, that's too traditional, or like, oh, that's lame, that's from the past. Almost like someone that, you know, maybe they're really good at like arguing and making up arguments and thinking logically, and everyone says you should be a lawyer, and they're like, oh no, that's way too boring, I want to be an actress. But they find after trying to be an actress for a few years that they're like, you know, I really think I would make a good lawyer, and actually maybe I do want to do that. And they go into it and they find that they excel at it. You know, it's almost like sometimes resisting something because, oh, it's too traditional, or, oh, like that's an old paradigm and I want something new, and then realizing that maybe that old way of doing things isn't so bad, or going back to like an authority figure, like hating your dad for a while and then realizing, you know, he's helped me a lot and I do love him, and maybe he could help me with this, maybe it's okay for me to reach out. I feel like for you, this message is about there's a pathway through this. It's not a definite no, but it's almost like you might need help from others, or the cooperation of someone else in order to make this work, and not being afraid to ask for that, not being afraid to speak up and say what you need. And then I do feel like there could be success, because with the Ace of Swords, it's actually a very positive card, and that was the final card we got. So I almost feel like with some tweaking and with some adjusting, there is a path through this to make this actually work and to turn this into a yes instead of just a no. But what I'm getting right off the bat is like a no with this situation, and kind of also like looking at your own history, looking at your own traumas, looking at your own bad habits. Sometimes we can stay very linked in like, that's just me, that's just who I am, that's just how I am. Like, I'm just really bad at math, so I always max out my credit cards, and I'm in credit card debt, but whatever, I'm just not good at math, I'm not going to go sit down and change my finances. And it's almost like realizing that maybe you don't want to use that excuse anymore, and as much as you might say, oh, I'm bad at math, you might have the capability to really fix it and be good at your finances and be good at math if you were to take that take the reins and like actually do it, and actually challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone. Or, you know, I'm horrible in a relationship, I always start fights, or I'm always jealous, and then like working through like, what are my traumas, why have I always been jealous or starting fights, and how can I fix that? Maybe it's not an energy I have to stay with for the rest of my life. Sometimes maybe I've been limiting myself, and actually I have a lot more options if I'm willing to kind of be vulnerable. Because I think what it really comes down to with that is not liking being vulnerable. Like when I think for myself, a lot of times when I made bad decisions, it's out of a place of like, oh, I don't want anyone to see me vulnerable, or I don't want anyone to see. It's almost like, have you ever seen someone like mess something up, but they'll try to play it off, like, and act like they did it on purpose? Like maybe they trip, but they act like, oh yeah, I meant to do that. Or they, make a really disgusting food recipe, but instead of admitting like, yeah, I think I messed up the recipe, they just say like, yeah, that's just how it is. And that's exactly how I meant to cook it. And yeah, no, I followed the recipe exactly. And or like a guy who's lost, and instead of asking for directions, he just keeps driving around in circles and getting more lost. And sometimes that really is an ego thing. So sometimes asking for help can feel like the most vulnerable thing, or admitting that I can't handle this all on my own. I can't do this all by myself, and I need some help. I need some assistance. It's really one of the bravest things we can do. And it can feel very daunting, very scary, but there's so much power in that. And once we realize our own power, then we can, adjust the situation and make it be whatever we need it to be. And then we actually have the power and the authority and the autonomy to like truly fix it and to truly move it forward in the direction we want. So yeah, I feel like for you, it's not a solid 100% no, but it's not a super positive, like definite yes. It feels like this situation may be tricky, may be difficult, may involve periods of suffering. Sometimes the Five of Pentacles can even involve like low finances or not having a lot of money. So it may be like, hey, there's a yes in this situation, but you're gonna have to go through a lot. Like one of those people that, they want to be an actor, so they move to LA and they only have $100 with them, so they have to sleep on couches and they're broke and they have to take a job at a fast food place, but they're working, and then eventually they get their big break. But there's that period that's going to be tough, and there's that period that's going to be hard, and then there's eventually a success with this Ace of Swords coming in at the end. So we'll get into more cards, but I'm getting a tentative like, no, it's not super positive, but there is a pathway through. Let's get into some of these cards for you. Pile number 2, we want to know about yes or no for pile 2. Yes or no for pile, excuse me, why am I saying pile 3? Pile 2, it's pile 3. Pile 3, we want to know for pile 3, yes or no. So we got beneath the surface, hidden truths, something unknown. So there may be something about this situation that you're not fully reading accurately as it could be. There may be something about this situation that surprises you, and maybe not in the most pleasant way. Sometimes we think we know a situation, but there's things being hidden or obscured from us. Sometimes we think we figured out a person, but they weren't completely honest. Sometimes we think, oh, that's going to be super easy, and then we actually try it and it's really a lot harder than we thought. The reality can be very different from what we think in our mind. And I feel like for you, again, there's that vibe of maybe getting in too deep, like getting in for more than you bargained for, something happening that's a little more than you can handle. Like I'm seeing, speaking of this iceberg, I'm seeing the Titanic like hitting the iceberg. You know how they said, oh, it's unsinkable, and they were like, oh, it's a straight shot and maybe there's a couple icebergs, but we'll be fine. And then they had this giant, like abnormally large iceberg, and obviously the boat sinks. It's a huge tragedy. I'm not saying something that bad would happen, but my point is, I think they said they were going way too fast. They should have gone slower since they were going through the ice field, but because they thought it was unsinkable, they were like, oh, it's okay. And I feel like for you, there's that message that, not feeling like, oh, I'm just basically undefeatable. Like I can't be brought down, I'm untouchable or whatever. I feel like sometimes we have to humble ourselves. Sometimes we have to admit like, oh, this is a lot for me to handle. And it's not to have low self-esteem, but sometimes it's like knowing your limits, or knowing, I might need assistance. I might need to call on a friend. I might need to ask someone. I might need some connections. It's kind of like I always think there's something very positive and uplifting about the idea of Nepo babies. And I know that's a weird take. Obviously, it's frustrating to think about them. But on the other hand, it's like, I always think of something like winning an Oscar as like, oh my God, you have to be the most talented person. Like you're winning the Oscar. And then when you think about it, like so many of them just happen to be born in Hollywood, just happen to be born to a family in the industry, or a family that was willing to like drive them to auditions as a teen, and they got their big break early. And then that was like who decided it. Like we always think of it as like the best of the best, but it's really just a matter of proximity, who's close to the business. Like honestly for me, and I'm not hating, and I thought it was a good movie, but like when Lady Gaga won the Oscar for the best actor of like that movie she did with Bradley Cooper, I forget, A Star Is Born. I was like, wait a minute, but she's like a singer. And I was like, okay, but this is supposed to be like the biggest, most prestigious acting award in the whole world. Like imagine if, like, didn't she just start acting like a couple years ago? She went through acting school, and I'm like, imagine someone winning like the Nobel Prize for science, but they just started like a year ago. You know, it's their first like thing. Like, I don't know. To me, I feel like in most jobs, I always think of them as like, oh my God, so prestigious. It's such a big deal, so daunting. And in a way, hearing about the Nepo baby thing, it just makes me realize that so much of it is just like it's not even that hard. It's just whoever's brave enough or shameless enough to go for it. You know what I mean? Like if you're shameless enough to be like, yeah, my dad's a director and he'll give me the role, so I'm taking it. Then boom, you get to become a successful, famous actress. And that's pretty cool. And in a way, I know that's depressing because most of us don't have famous director dads to give us a role. But in a way, it can also be uplifting because it's like, okay, maybe I need to stop doubting myself and talking about like, oh, I could never, and just have the confidence of like a mediocre Nepo baby who decides that they should be a famous singer just because they have a famous producer dad. You know what I mean? Like, why not? If they can do it, then the rest of us need to stop sitting around doubting. Yeah, because sometimes it's just a matter of who's there, who's willing to do it, who's brave enough and has the confidence and just is like, it should be me. And then that person gets it. And sometimes I think we all can fall into that spiral of like self-doubt, overthinking. And it's not to say like being really cocky, because I'm not saying you guys should be cocky, but sometimes also I think there's a fear of asking. There's a fear of going out for it. There's a fear of like, yeah, but if I ask my friend if they could help me with my project, then they're gonna think I'm a user. But it's really the people who ask who get ahead. You know, it's the person who says like, Daddy, put me in your movie, that's gonna get the role, and the daughter that's like, no, I don't want to ask him, that doesn't get cast. So sometimes you gotta ask, and I know most of us don't have a dad to put us in a movie, but you know what I mean for the metaphor. So let's get some more cards for pile number 3. Yes or no for pile number 3. Creation, soul expression, something new. And one more. Archangel Phanuel, hope, optimism, new beginning. So there's a lot more optimistic cards coming out now. It may just be that there's something about this old energy that needed to be almost like rewritten or kind of like adapted or tweaked or changed a little bit, you know, done a little bit differently. And there is that, you know, because the Ace of Swords is definitely a new energy, a new beginning, and often mental, a new mental beginning. And we got this something new card. So I feel like it's almost like there is a path forward with whatever this is, but it needs to be brought in with a new energy. So it's almost like if you're asking about a relationship, you're going to need to really change your energy and how you approach it in order for things to work out. If this is a job situation, you might need to take a new approach. Sometimes it's like we want something to change in our relationship, but we keep approaching it with that same old energy, that same old resentment about something that happened in the past. We start, you know, bringing up like, oh, but you said this, blah, 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 but we expect our partner to change. And sometimes the most important thing is like leaving that energy in the past so we can create a new one. And I'm not saying we should be delusional and forget like, oh, he's a serial cheater, but I'm going to pretend it's all fine. But, you know, if we're like, you know, we used to argue a lot about blah, 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 making a conscious effort not to bring up whatever in the past, you know? And again, I'm not saying you should be delusional, put your head in the clouds or bury your head in the sand about certain things. Of course, if there's something that really needs to be addressed, then you should do that. But I also feel like for you guys, there is that message of making sure that you're really approaching things with a new energy of like whatever you want to happen. I think sometimes we may have a goal in mind, we may have something that we want to do, but we allow ourselves to get very distracted by everything else. We might want to start a business, but then I don't know, maybe we were planning on working all night and like starting work on like a creative project we had, but a friend asked us to go out, and so we go out and we party, and then the creative work doesn't happen. Or sometimes we're trying to get really better at yoga and we signed up for a yoga class, but then we get really burnt out that day at work, so we just decide to order a pizza and go home and do that instead. And it's almost like very easy to get off track, and that happens with energy as well. We may be so excited about a project, have so much optimism, have so many so much positive energy for something, but then something happens to make us pessimistic, or we tell a friend about it and they're like, oh, I don't know, that sounds a little weird. And we adapt that negative energy ourselves. And it's really about getting clear and sending our energy out like an arrow of intention so that nothing can get in the way of it. Nothing can block it from happening, and being very okay with like dismantling old energies that were holding us back from achieving that. Let's get into some more cards for you. Pile number 3. We want to know yes or no for pile number 3. So we got the Ace of Pentacles. This one is the 3 of Cups and the Tower card. Okay. The 3 of Pentacles, Justice card, Ace of Wands reversed, and got 2, the 8 of Pentacles, and the Page of Cups. So I feel like for you guys, again, we have some negative cards like the Ace of Wands reversed, the Tower, but honestly, it feels like there is that path forward, but it just needs to be very refined and very like adjusted. And I feel like for you, it's almost like this opportunity, whatever it is that you're asking about, has so much opportunity and space as well for soul growth, and for you to really learn a lot about yourself, a lot about your own weaknesses or things you could improve on yourself. And it truly is a learning opportunity. There truly is so much opportunity here for you to adjust yourself and to learn how to transmute the situation and to turn it into something more positive. So I actually feel like any setbacks that might happen in this journey of whatever it is are also opening the door up for you to learn more about yourself, to accomplish more about yourself, and to ultimately come out with a very positive experience from all of this. So even though it may be a no, I'm getting more like a maybe. Like it could go either way, but no matter what happens, you're gonna leave this situation better off, having learned so much and with so much kind of from your past. Like I feel like you are learning and accumulating this deep knowledge that you are going to be carrying with you to your future. So no matter what happens with this, it's like a win is a win, even though you might not accomplish exactly what you wanted, you're also going to be working on yourself and learning so much stuff about yourself. So I think it's not to say that you should avoid this situation entirely or there's something really negative that's going to happen, but I do feel like this situation may test you, may force you to really grow, may force you to really learn, and you may not have exactly the outcome that you're picturing or that you're wanting in your head, but you may come out with it like, I learned so much more. It's kind of like when I took a bunch of classes in, I know this is a weird metaphor, but they're showing me it like I signed up for like this exercise class course when I was in college, and I signed up for a bunch of different classes where, I could take, it was like once you signed up for one, because it was at my college, once you signed up for the whole, you could take like a group program, and then you got access to all the classes. So you could go take, I don't know, spin class, and you could take like boxing class, and you could take, tennis or whatever they offered. And I was surprised by how much I liked Pilates and then yoga, and a lot of the things I learned was just about like posture and weird stuff like that. And I find myself now, like, even though I've taken lots of exercise classes since, but I always go back to a lot of the moves that I learned from like the early Pilates and yoga classes whenever I'm like working out at home, or I'm just like, oh, I should work out in my room or do something, like if I have 5 minutes and I'm like waiting for something to blend in my blender or cook in the air fryer, I'll be like, oh, let me just do these little moves from Pilates. And then when I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, I think I learned this when I was like 18. And I never would have thought, like, I always thought, oh, they're just like college, like they're nothing, they're not like professional, the best classes. They're just offered through my college. And I think most of the teachers were actually other students. And yet I really feel like I learned the most from those classes than any other like fitness classes I've taken. I know that's a funny metaphor. I know that's like probably like, okay, what's the point of this? But I just feel like sometimes you get something out of something and it leaves a mark on you that you wouldn't expect. Sometimes you sign up for something because you're just like, yeah, I just want to work out. And then it like affects how you hold yourself, or it affects the moves you make in your future. Sometimes you sign up for an exercise class and you're like, this is just going to be a nothing class and I'm looking forward to this class, but you really like it. And then something else that you thought you would love, you find, it didn't really do anything for me, So yeah, I know that's funny, but I just feel like there's a metaphor there that whatever you take out of this situation, it may be very different from what you expected. Let's get some message cards for you. Pile number 3. Yes or no for pile number 3. Yes or no for pile number 3. So we got lost lands, soul memories and gifts. You've done this before. Forge, don't follow. Pave a new path. Be the leader you wish you had. Let's see. I'm sorry, defenselessness, righting past wrongs, uprooting, and let's get one final card for you, pile number 4. This one says, fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposites, extremes of life. So I feel like for you guys, again, this is about a little bit of surrender, and it's almost like an ego death moment. Sometimes that moment when you have to say, I'm sorry, or you have to say, I can't do this, or I wasn't as good as I thought, or, I'm kind of a beginner, or I thought this would be easy. It's actually hard. Those can be the biggest opportunities for growth. And those moments when we have to sit down and say, I really messed up here, or I just need your help, or I need some assistance, can be so humbling and can be so scary. And of course, in our mind, that ultimate rejection we're afraid of is the person being like, excuse me, I'm not helping you. I don't owe you anything. But most of the time, a lot of people will be compassionate and will be like, yeah, I can probably help you and I can do that for you. So don't be afraid to do that. I love this card that says lost lands, soul memories. Sometimes you might have a soul tie with someone, a soul connection with them, a past life connection. They might karmically owe you something and you don't even know. And that's why you're being called to be put in that situation where you have to ask them for assistance. So don't be afraid to do it. Don't come into it with a like, oh, I'm so unreasonable to ask this vibe. Know that, like, of course you deserve to be helped sometimes, not to say you just shouldn't be grateful, but it's okay to ask, and it's okay to sometimes need someone, need help, whatever. And I also love this forge, don't follow card. So back to the Hierophant, the high priest, you might be called to really be stepping into your authority and find your voice, and not just following others or going with the flow of what someone expects from you, but really, really, really stepping into your own power and authority, and knowing you have every right to ask for those things, and that you do deserve to have, whatever beautiful life you're trying to create. So the overall message is a maybe, not a no for sure, not a yes. This situation has a lot of nuance. It's going to be difficult and tricky, but I feel like if you're committed to the soul growth work, if you're committed to sometimes maybe humbling yourself and asking for help from others and getting the assistance of someone else, I feel like it definitely could work out for you. So that is what I have for you, pile number 3. I really hope that resonates. And if you want to see more of my content, be sure to head over to my Patreon, where I post all my additional readings. I just posted one all about your special person, soulmate night, when you're going to meet them, how they're going to come in, what they're like, all the information about them. And before that, there are over 80 exclusive readings you'll only get access to, maybe 90, I'm not sure, when you sign up for Patreon. So if that sounds good to you and you're interested in signing up, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you're interested in booking a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. Whether you want a tarot reading, an astrology reading, channeling, combination, you can really customize your session so it's the perfect session for you, the perfect time, pre-recorded, live, etc. There's lots of different options to choose from. If you're interested, go to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey pile 4, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your cards. So you guys got the Queen of Swords, the Moon, the Ace of Wands, and the Two of Cups. So I am leaning towards a yes for this answer. It feels like there's a very receptive, maybe even supportive energy around you. This could be a person who could be a real ally in accomplishing whatever this is. It feels like this person really sees you through to who you are, and it's almost like you are able to more effectively communicate or voice your concerns or say how you really feel with this person because they're really like on your team. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a best friend or a partner, but a partner that really supports you, not one that criticizes or is kind of like, yeah, I'm with this person and I'm dating them, but I don't get what they're doing. Like it feels like this person just gets you, understands you, and almost always gives you the benefit of the doubt. So whatever kind of endeavor this is, I feel like you may find someone that helps you to complete it or support it. Even maybe a multiple group of people. Like I think sometimes, you know, even with social media, it can be really reassuring to find your group that gets you. Like I always think I'm so grateful for my subscribers because there's so many that really always support me or leave positive comments or just seem to give me the benefit of the doubt. And honestly, that has been really healing for me because I've definitely, as an Aquarius ascendant, always kind of felt like a black sheep or a little bit like I did, like some people would get me, but a lot of people would be like, what is she doing? So it's been so nice to find a little bit of a community on YouTube and people that, you know, see you for your intentions and appreciate it. So whatever this is, it could be a group, it could be one person. I always think you just need one person who gets you, and even that feeling of support, even that one person that like I said, always leaves a positive comment, or just that person in the friend group that always is like, oh, let's make sure that Sarah's included, or that romantic partner that you know you can call if anything is going to happen. Having that one person that gets you can be so helpful. And I feel like you may have a partner or an ally who really is wanting to advocate for you and really sees the good in you. And I also feel like you are going on a bit of a creative path with this. We got the Two of Cups. Cups are creativity in the tarot, and intuition, and kind of like that flash of dreamy creative insight. And then we have the Moon card, which is ruled by Pisces, a highly creative energy. And so I feel like there's also a vibe of like following your own intuition with this, or whatever idea you have, just being really good and being something that it's almost like you may be listening from a very intuitive place. The Ace of Wands can also talk about that. Fire can be very intuitive. It's kind of different from Cups in the energy, but it's still very intuitive, more of that active, like, I'm just going to do this intuition, and that flash of, I got to do this. I just know it. And I feel like that's another thing, is like Spirit is saying with this situation, whatever it is, trust your intuition, trust your feeling. I think so much of the time someone will get an intuition, an insight. They'll feel like, maybe I should do blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, I don't know, I have a feeling I'm drawn to this. But then it's almost like their logical brain turns on and they think, well, what are the odds? Or I couldn't do that. Like I was talking to one of my friends recently who I thought would make a great YouTube channel, and I was telling them about it, and they were like, yeah, I did a little research like that says that, you know, it's really hard to be a YouTuber or whatever. And I was like, I just want to say, like, I'm so glad I never read any of those articles before I launched my channel, because I'm sure if I had, it would have gotten in my head. And I know myself, I'm definitely that person that likes to read the statistics and think, well, if X percentage of people tried it and didn't make it, then I'm definitely not going to make it, and being really pessimistic. And, I always think now, because, yeah, oh, there's a horn going off. But anyway, now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, it does seem like a daunting number when you think about certain people maybe started a channel and nothing happened with it. But the reality is those people may not have had your specific gifts. They may not have had, the alchemy of whatever was going on in the moment. Your guides may have a different path for you. So yeah, maybe it didn't work out for them. That doesn't mean it's going to not work out for you. Maybe you won't, but you won't know until you try. And I think sometimes those statistics almost can be misleading. I look back now and there's so many things I'm like, I wish I had applied for that, or I wish I had have tried for that. But I would read statistics and hear, oh, these people tried for something and they didn't do well, or this career, actually a lot of people in it don't pay that well. It doesn't pay that well. So, I would just get so discouraged and be like, oh, then I'm definitely not going to do it, because I know I'm not going to be in that exceptional group. I know I'm not that smart, whatever. And I look back now and I wish I would have just tried for it, And again, that's where I think sometimes that logic, the feeling of like, let me read this data, or let me look at those statistics. The statistics don't have anything to do with you. And there's always that group that does break the odds. And maybe those people that, someone that launched a YouTube channel and it didn't go anywhere, maybe they weren't really trying. Maybe they didn't update that often. Maybe they didn't post that often. Or maybe, they were doing something that really wasn't truly from an intuitive place of their gift. And so maybe it didn't flow as well because they were like trying for it, and they were, maybe, I don't know, they had like a guitar channel, but they don't actually love the guitar. And maybe for some of them, they did love it, but you never really know someone else's story. All you can know is your own intuition, what it's telling you, and listening to that above everything. Because I feel like what's coming through for you is you have a gift or a talent in something, and it's almost like your guides want you to lean into it. Or if this is about a relationship, which I could see it being about a relationship for a lot of you, given this very supportive energy and the Two of Cups, maybe you could say, well, this person's dated everyone else and they don't, they always are a player. And so they're not going to treat me differently. But maybe their connection with you is so different. Or maybe, oh, all my friends are having a horrible time dating. I know I'm just not going to be able to find anyone. But maybe Spirit has a different plan for you, and you won't know until you put yourself out there and try for it and go for it. Because I feel like what is the energy here is a very fertile ground for something. Whatever you're asking about, it feels like your guides are almost like, come on, come on, come on, let's go. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, they're so excited to see this start. They're so excited for you to push forward. They feel like there's so much opportunity here, and I feel like they just want to see it play out. They just want to see you give it a shot and kind of step into your authority with that Queen of Swords coming out, like not second guessing yourself, not allowing those doubts to creep in, but coming in with that energy of the Queen of Swords, who really knows her own power. Let's get into some of these cards for you. Yes or no for pile number 4, Spirit. Yes or no for pile number 4. Let's see. Yes or no for pile number 4. So we got, achievement, completion, reward. Okay, I would definitely take that as a yes. Then we got beneath the surface, hidden truth, something unknown. And this one says animal totems, animal energy and powers. I also feel like there's a message about so many of you guys having just this incredibly beautiful spirit. Maybe some of you guys feel like animals are drawn to you. Like if there is a dog or a cat in the room, it's going to walk straight up to you and feel really connected to you. And it may be that they're reading your energy, because I feel like there's something about your energy that's very, very special, pile number 4. And that so many people, like I said, are drawn to you. And so many people are really going to love you and want to support you. I feel like you may even have like good karma, or maybe in a past life you did a lot for someone else, and so you're getting paid back. Or maybe someone did something mean to you and you're getting paid back in a good way for what you suffered from. But I feel like for you there is that vibe that it's like your guides want you to have more faith in yourself, trust the process, and you're going to get paid back. Like you are, I don't want to say owed it because I think that can lead to like a bitter energy when you're like, I'm owed this, I demand. Like it can feel, it can actually energetically push something away when we have that like, I deserve it and this is crazy that I haven't gotten it. Then that kind of repulses whatever the energy we're trying to bring in. But I do feel like this is a vibe that like whatever this is yours. And it's literally just a matter of you having the bravery and I want to say the audacity to claim it. You know, I love that like I'm not talking about anything political at all. I haven't read this book. But just speaking of like words, and I love words because I'm kind of a word geek, I guess. I enjoy studying them or thinking of them, I guess. And I love that Barack Obama titled his book The Audacity of Hope. Again, not making a political statement here, but I'm just saying I think it's kind of nice to reclaim like a word like, oh, the audacity. Like, oh my God, you're so audacious to ask for that. Or I can't believe you would have the audacity. And it is sometimes very audacious or very like, it feels outrageous to hope. Like, how could you think you could do that? How could you think that you blah, blah, blah? Like sometimes it's, you know, that single friend that will say, well, oh, really? You think you're going to do so much better in the dating market than me? Or that person that isn't doing super well financially and it's like, well, how dare you suggest that it's so easy to get a job? I'm really working like 3 jobs and I can't pay my bills. And that's totally true. And it's not to take away from that or like look down on that or whatever, but everyone has different paths. And it is an act of bravery sometimes to be like, I reject your characterization of things. I reject your experience, of course, is valid, but it's not necessarily going to be mine. And what life has taught me is that you can never judge your life or your experiences from someone else's. Someone else might have the same exact similar thing to you going on, but a completely different outcome for good or for bad. You know, there's people I know in my life that literally, no offense to them, but didn't think they were super smart. They didn't stand out and they have quite literally, no joke, become billionaires. And by the same token, I know people that seemed like they had it all and, you know, had a really unfortunate things happen to them or sad outcomes or didn't seem to accomplish much. And again, it's not to mock or make fun of anyone or be negative, but my point is that you can never say someone else, they don't know your story. They don't know your calling. They don't know the life journey you're supposed to live out. And so that's why it's so important to push all those doubts away and set your path, set your sights on a positive path. And I feel like that's what can happen with this situation. It's almost like there's so much potential for you to do something with this. And I feel like your guides are like, they're not even understanding why you keep questioning, why you keep doubting, because it feels like there's only positivity. And it does feel like this is a gift from spirit. You know, the Ace of Wands, I always like to mention that they connect literally in Kabbalah with God. And so I think the word is kether in Kabbalah and literally the highest form of God. So the aces are actually that kind of connection to God. Why? Because the aces represent that sudden burst of insight, that flash of, oh my God, I should do this, or this flash of an idea that comes into your head. I always think the aces always remind me of how J.K. Rowling said she was like sitting in a cafe, she was broke, she was a single mom, and suddenly the whole idea of Harry Potter flashed into her head, like all of it fully fleshed out, and she just started scribbling it on a napkin. And I always think, wow, how amazing that must be to be getting, I mean, speaking of someone who became a billionaire, having that entire insight pop into your head in one moment must be freaking incredible. But so many of us get moments like that, and the difference is we pass them by. We don't trust them. We think, oh, you know, that's a cool idea, but anyway, I could never do that. I mean, I'm sure if you had told J.K. Rowling, well, you're going to be a billionaire and you're going to sell XYZ number of copies of books, who could have believed it? And that's why I said you can never listen to what happened to someone else. She could have said, what am I doing writing a children's book? So many people try to publish books and get rejected. And, you know, I'm a single mom. I should be focusing on just getting any kind of job just to get by. Like, yeah, of course, I'm not a great writer. I'm not that educated. I don't have a master's degree. I haven't won a Pulitzer Prize. Like, what am I doing writing these books? But you had to have the faith, and that's kind of something we need, because the ace is often that unformed, like It hasn't actually happened yet. It's just an idea. It's just a beginning. It's just a burst of insight. Also, like the Fool card in tarot also represents this. It's number 0. And of course, 0 looks like a little egg. It's shaped like an egg because when you see an egg, you see the perfection of the chicken that's inside of it, but it's not grown yet. It's there, but you have to have faith of what it's going to become. You know, it's kind of another example. Maybe there's a pregnant woman, but she's like a week along and she's just gotten pregnant and she looks the exact same, but there's a life growing inside her, and in 9 months time that's going to be a baby, and in 20 years time, 30 years time, it could be the next president of the United States. There's that untapped potential, but we have to have the faith. We have to trust that process, that maybe it doesn't look that way right now, but it will in the future. Let me get into some tarot for you guys for pile number 4. We want to get some tarot for pile 4 for yes or no for them, yes or no. So we just got the Queen of Wands. And what's coming through with the Wands is how much they embrace enthusiasm. The Ace of Wands, the Queen of Wands, the Knight of Cups to a certain extent in a different way, but they're all very enthusiastic energies. They don't do it halfway. They don't try to kind of be milquetoast about it, blasé about it, like like use a little energy, but I'm not really going to do it all the way. It's like a full force, going for it, using all their enthusiasm. And that's why oftentimes fire sign people, fire placement people can be so incredibly charismatic and really like just get you to do things you would never normally do. I mean, that's what fire sign friends are for, right? Convincing you to like run from the cops at 3 a.m. outside a bar, or do something crazy, break into like an old building, or, you know, go randomly go up to that guy at the bar and start flirting with him. That's what fire sign friends, that's why they're so much fun to be around, because they have that boldness and they don't question themselves as much. They don't even give themselves time to question. That's why fire signs are like the fastest of all the tarot. The Wands are the fastest because it's really about just going for it. And I feel like, again, for you, there's that message that, look, the Ten of Pentacles, there's so much potential here, and it's just a question of why are you allowing doubts to creep in? Why are you allowing yourself to go to a negative place, especially knowing how much our thoughts affect the outcome? Why would you even allow yourself to go to that place of doubt, and knowing that that energy is percolating and circulating, and I didn't mean to rhyme, but whatever, and you know, forming its own energy and kind of compounding on itself. Just like if you push, you know, a boulder down a hill, it's going to go slower at first and then faster and faster. And that's what energy does. The more we allow ourselves to dwell in worry, the more that's going to pick up and go. And the more we take action, the more we decide, like, you know what, I do have this really great idea for a book. I'm going to go sit down and I'm going to write 30 words, just 30 words. I'm going to sit down at my laptop. I'm going to type them out, or I'm going to go write a page, or I'm going to write 500 words, or whatever you want to do, and maybe continuing to go. And just that first step, just that taking action, just going for it and actually doing what we're thinking of instead of just keeping it an idea, that also creates energy. And the more we make that into a habit, the more we have set out in the morning that I'm going to write 500 words, and I'm doing it every day, and I can trust myself. And now I'm getting more and more excited about this book because now it's coming together. Now it's really happening. Now it's really a actual potential instead of just this idea. Now it's an actual thing. And so, yeah, I feel like for you guys, you're really being called that it's time for you to like embrace your power, I guess. You know, we got the Emperor, which is ruled by Aries, a fire sign, and Aries always is going to have that self-confidence. And I always think there's something so special about Aries because it is the first sign in the zodiac, coming after Pisces, which is kind of that death, old age energy, and then being reborn as Aries. And it's kind of like the first light of dawn, or the first warm day in spring that you can actually wear some shorts and a t-shirt, or, you know, that moment when the baby actually comes out of the womb and is born and is screaming and is so alive and is smelling and tasting and feeling everything for the first time, and seeing the mom's face for the first time and hearing her voice, and just that beautiful full aliveness of Aries is why I just love it so much. And for you guys, I feel like it's like this is about really appreciating too the gifts you've been given, how special you are, and the potentiality that you have in front of you. There's also so much potential in Aries because it is the first of the zodiac. It's about to go through all the other signs and all the other houses. So there's so much there that is about to happen. And there's so much like early potential and just like unlimited potential and excitement about that. And I feel like for you guys, this is about embracing that moment. This is about embracing yourself and having faith and allowing this to unfold the way it's meant to unfold, and not second guessing or doubting or allowing yourself to stay in a stuck, stagnant energy. Let's get some more cards for pile number 4. So we got the courageous peony, multifaceted, unique nature. Let yourself be seen. Yes, letting yourself be seen, having that faith in yourself that you are good enough to be seen, that you're special enough to do this. Again, like, I think if you look at the statistics, so many of us statistically are even an anomaly to even exist. Like, I heard that statistically the risk of like your parents getting pregnant with the exact like combination of their, egg, whatever, then that is so rare. It's like 1 in a million or something like that, like for each of us, and yet we're all alive. So my point is that, you've already defied the odds, even though you're even just existing now. Most people throughout human history didn't have plumbing, didn't have water, didn't have electricity. I mean, even a king wouldn't have been able to take a hot shower, right? So we're already kind of like living this extraordinary life, and we might as well have faith in ourselves so we can do other extraordinary things. Let's get some more cards. Okay, so we got trust the timing, trust the wave you came in on. Time is not running out. And let's get one more. We got star bathing, light body, crystal grid transmission, activation. And one final card for you, pile number 4. Oh, you get 2 final cards. The blue flame, spontaneous awakening, activation, integration time. And this one says, big picture thinking, Pleiades, energy, visionary, inspired ideas. So yeah, a lot of these are very inspired ideas that have come direct from spirit. And I feel like your guides, angels, ancestors, they just really want you to kind of take it seriously and appreciate it. Don't second guess it. Don't doubt it. I mean, sometimes when our guides give us a gift, they've given us this flash of insight. They've given us this inspiration. They've given us this knowledge. They really want us to take advantage of it. They don't want us to doubt ourselves. It's kind of insulting to them. Have you ever given someone a gift and they're just like very mid in their reaction? Like they're like, oh, thanks. Yeah. Okay, cool. And you're like, I worked so hard on that gift. Like I went and I picked it out. I bought it. I gift wrapped it. It took me 5 hours to find that gift. I was walking all over the mall, and it's such a like slap in the face, like even though like I shouldn't get offended, it's Christmas and they probably don't even realize how much work that took. You can't help but be like, excuse me. And so, yeah, I mean, our guides aren't going to be mad at us if we, are doubting. They know we're human. They know we have moments of self-doubt and everything, but still we can kind of return the favor to them by actually appreciating it and actually enjoying it and being grateful and fully trusting it instead of doubting and second guessing and hemming and hawing and wasting time. We can know that if Spirit has put this in our heart and put this in our mind and given us this vision, then it's for a reason, and we need to trust it and we need to embrace it. So the answer to you, I believe, is a definite yes. There's so much potential here. There's so much that you guys could do. I mean, you got the 10 of Pentacles. So that shows a huge amount of success as well. And I feel like Spirit is saying, listen, just trust the process. Trust yourself, trust the process, trust the timing, and go for it. Stop waiting, stop second guessing. You already know the answer. The answer is a definite yes. So that is what I have for you, pile number 4. I really hope that resonates, guys. If it does, let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you. And if you want to see more of my content, head on over to my Patreon. I just posted a reading all about your twin flame, special person, soulmate, when they're coming in, what they're up to now, what the timing is, and all the details with that, what that's going to be like. But there are over 80 or maybe 90, I'm not sure, But there's a lot of additional readings over there, exclusive readings you'll only get on Patreon. You also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. They always get posted over there first. So there's a lot of content to go through. If that sounds good to you and you're interested in signing up, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description for my Patreon. Also, if you're interested in booking a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. Whether you want a tarot session, an astrology session, channeling session, or a combination of all three, it's really up to you. But you can, like I said, go ahead and book that at the link in my description for my website, briarrosetarot.com. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye.